Welcome back to our channel, where we provide updates and undisclosed narratives on Catherine, Princess of Wales, and her royal family. We are excited to share the following news. King Charles and Prince William's final demand to UK Parliament's action left. Harry and Meghan's new business down. King Charles and Prince William are reportedly pressing for the United Kingdom Parliament to take this action against the Sussexes in California. This comes after many people have leaked information about the Sussexes to the public. An insider source has said that the United Kingdom Parliament has just dropped a bombshell against Meghan's new business empire. In order to put an end to the drama with the Sussexes, this was deemed a serious step by the royal family. Within this video, we will investigate the reasons behind the impact it had on the Sussex strategy, the Crown's assessment, an examination of the conspiracy to undermine Meghan's dominion. The large windows of the Montecito estate allow California sunlight to permeate, providing an idyllic representation of serene existence after a tenure as a royal family member. This picture is wonderfully crafted, contrasting sharply with the austere stone and tight regulations characteristic of Windsor. The serene illumination of the Pacific Ocean served as the backdrop for the establishment of an empire. Hope, health, and the meticulously chosen allure of a contemporary duchess. They have more significance than territory or triumph. For 3 years, Meghan Markle has been strategically maneuvering. She has exchanged provocative interviews for the measured development of a lifestyle brand poised to dominate the U.S. market. The noise has ceased. It seemed that the drama had occurred a considerable time before. Conversely, a tempest was brewing in the committee chambers of Westminster, situated 5,000 mi away and distinguished by their wooden paneling. Even the Duchess of Sussex could not foresee the impending constitutional upheaval. The conflict was not with sensational tabloid headlines, but rather with the formidable authority that the British state has always upheld. This force may traverse an ocean and annihilate her whole world. Thunderbolt of Westminster. Consequently, many observers of British politics first saw the news as a mundane element of the political scene. A cross-party parliamentary committee with lawmakers from various political affiliations gathered to examine the legislation governing the financial activities of the royal family. Such assessments are not novel. They often include monotonous and bureaucratic tasks aimed at verifying compliance with the Constitution and its provisions. In several instances, they are just referenced briefly on the inside pages of broad sheets before being disregarded. This time, circumstances were altered. The committee concentrated on former working royals who persist in leveraging their titles for financial gain. And it seems that one specific case study astonished everybody present. In Montecito, the brand under development was not only adopting a royal title as a superficial embellishment. It was actually executing this strategy. The marketing issue was significant. According to those familiar with the committee, all members agreed that the title Duchess of Sussex was the most crucial element of the whole endeavor. It was the distinctive element that elevated the organization from being one of several celebrity lifestyle enterprises to an extraordinary entity with the attraction of a monarchy with a millennium of history. It was not hidden in the fine print. Instead, it was the headline prominently displayed in large characters that could not be overlooked. The unremarkable and bureaucratic review unexpectedly ignited fervor. At that time, the tone of the comments transitioned from procedural to prosecutorial. A senior parliamentarian indicated a preference for anonymity due to the contentious nature of the discussions. They said that Meghan's branding was on the brink of constitutional exploitation. The expression "under consideration" is a dagger. This is not the vernacular of tabloid gossip. Instead, it embodies the discourse of substantive constitutional deliberation. It suggests a breach not of etiquette, but of the implicit accord that distinguishes the Crown from business. A fellow parliamentarian who did not prioritize the safeguarding of personal privacy openly characterized the idea as a gross abuse of the Duchess's identity for financial gain. In a little time frame, the private assessment abruptly transformed into a public announcement of war. Parliament has declared an official study into whether working royals should be allowed to use their titles for the promotion and sale of private firms. The reference to Meghan's name was entirely unnecessary. The undercurrent was audible from Westminster to the picturesque hills of California due to its intensity. The sent message was clear. The institution she had departed from was not yet done with her. The British Parliament has just made one of its first movements in the game in both London and Los Angeles. The inquiry, why now, was the first consideration due to the recent incidents. Who issued the command to attack after a truce that had been meticulously maintained for 3 years, a matter of constitutional abuse? To comprehend the seriousness of Parliament's participation, one must first grasp the tenuous, even sacrosanct demarcation between the British monarchy and the financial realm. People have thought that the Crown's strength comes from the fact that it has been apart from the dirty business world for hundreds of years. Royals are not owners, they are guests. They support causes, not commercial lines. This division is what makes it so mysterious, and in a democratic era, what keeps it alive. The institution is a symbol of national identity and a living example of history. Its brand is protected more zealously than the crown jewels. It is a serious constitutional issue when a family member, especially one with a high-ranking title like Duchess, puts that title on a product for sale. It makes it hard to tell the difference between serving the public and making money. It might turn a title given by the king into a simple marketing tool, which is a sign of service to the country. Constitutional scholars say that this is exactly the kind of threat that the parliamentary committee has found. They are not just arguing about royal procedure or taste. They are looking into a possible danger to the monarchy's essential essence. Something is not the first time something has come up. In the early 2000s, Sophie, who was then the Countess of Wessex, got a lot of bad press for her public relations agency, which some said was taking advantage of her royal position. The reaction was big enough to cause a full assessment and the creation of harsher rules for royals who work. But Meghan is constructing something on a whole other level. It is not just a side company. It is a worldwide lifestyle empire that is tied to her royal identity in both obvious and subtle ways. The name of her company, American Riviera Orchard, makes you think of rich people relaxing and gives you the promise of being able to enter a duchess's well-chosen environment. Insiders in Westminster say that the committee is quite worried about this mix of royal status and business goals. They think it is a bad idea that may permanently dilute the brand of the monarchy itself. What prevents a prince from promoting a luxury automobile or a princess from starting a brand of cosmetics, if a duchess may sell jam and home goods? The committee's choice to call this a priority review is a clear indicator. This is not a political game that should be lost in bureaucracy. They want to set a clear, legally enforceable rule that will apply to all royals for all time. In a way, they are trying to write down the unspoken norms of the monarchy for the 21st century. People in Montecito were apparently not just shocked by the news, but also felt deeply betrayed. A source close to the Sussex camp said the atmosphere was intense, furious, and extremely insulted. One insider said that Meghan thinks she is being unjustly targeted and undermined at the most important time for her company launch. From her point of view, the reasoning makes sense. She stopped doing her royal responsibilities. She gave up her job as a working royal and the money that came with it from taxpayers. She relocated to a different nation to start over and construct a new life and profession from scratch using her own identity and the good name she had built. And now, years later, the exact institution she tried to break free from is claiming power over her and reaching across the Atlantic to perhaps destroy all she has built. It seems like a punishment to her and her allies, a last act of retribution meant to remind her that you may leave the family but never really get away from the firm. The prince's game, as the political and media tempest became worse, a more worrisome story started to come out of the shadows of the royal halls. Many people, even those with ties to the royal family and politics, started to say that this legislative review was not a sudden outburst of concern for the Constitution. They murmured that it may have been secretly planned by the one guy who had the most to lose by the crown's image going down, Prince William, the future monarch. These allegations from insiders say that the Prince of Wales has been quietly but firmly talking to his top advisors for months about how worried he is about his sister-in-law's business empire. Sources say that his worry is not based on personal dislike, but the deep and painful gap between the brothers is definitely a sad background to the romance. People say that William's main reason for doing what he does is because he feels it is his responsibility as the protector of the monarchy. He thinks that combining a royal title with a business brand is a serious threat to the integrity of the institution, and if it is not stopped, it might cause harm for generations. Some accounts go even further, saying that William himself got involved and made calls to make sure that the problem of royal titles being used for business purposes will be thoroughly studied at the highest levels. People who know him say that his point is that there has to be a clear line for all previous working royals. Even in their new independent existence, they need to know what the boundaries and duties are that come with having a title. This is about keeping the monarchy's true meaning alive and making sure it stays a symbol of public service, not private gain. To his followers and those who are faithful to the institution, this is William behaving like a statesman. He is a future king, making a hard but essential choice to defend the 1,000-year-old organization he is meant to rule. It is a smart approach that will stop the crown's dignity from slowly fading away. Reportedly, palace staff are quietly elated by the news, seeing it as a long-overdue safety precaution, and maybe even a quiet but strong reminder to the Sussexes of their status in the royal hierarchy. A source close to the palace said in a very clear way what the institution thought. This is about keeping the brand strong and staying within the limits of the Constitution. If Meghan wants to be an entrepreneur, she cannot do it by using titles that belong to the crown. But Meghan's supporters say that this story is only a cover for a highly personal and vengeful deed. They think that a competitor and estranged brother-in-law is using the government to settle a family score. They say that the timing is too perfect to be a coincidence. An organization that William seems to support is trying to sabotage Meghan's most ambitious endeavor yet, which is about to begin. They say that the parliamentary examination is petty racist and a planned effort to bring down a successful woman of color who had the guts to violate the strict rules of the monarchy. Not only are the lines of struggle set in legal and constitutional terms, but also in highly emotional and cultural ones. Is this a conscientious defense of tradition, or a cruel attempt to control a lady who would not be quiet? A house that is not together. People who work in Westminster say that the pressure cooker environment there is similar to, and maybe even worse than the one at the Sussexes' Montecito house. Staff members talk of a stifling tension, as if their house has become a crisis command center, where their personal and professional lives have merged with explosive intensity. Sources claim Meghan is ready to fight. She is said to walk about the living room late at night with her phone in hand, her mind racing with legal schemes, PR, counteroffensives, and media answers. People say that she avidly reads every news story, every statement from Parliament, and every social media trend, seeing every headline as a personal assault and every critical tweet as a betrayal. People who have seen her speak say that her determination is unbreakable. People say that during one tough meeting with her staff, she laid down the law in a voice that was precise and controlled, but also full of raw energy and dread. She is said to have instructed them, "We fight, we do not kowtow. They cannot run my kingdom. I will not let them take this away from me." For Meghan, this is more than just a financial disagreement. It is a basic struggle for her freedom, for her ability to choose her own identity and shape her own destiny without being told what to do by an organization she no longer works for. Then there is Harry. Sources say that a guy is stuck in an emotional no-man's land, a person of deep and painful turmoil. Reports say that Harry is gazing into an abyss of his own creating as his wife gets ready for battle. He is the one who understands what to do. He grew up in a system of laws that is now being used against his family. The traditions, rules, and unwritten norms of behavior are not just ideas to him. As one observer put it, they are etched into his DNA. He is said to have told Meghan months ago that using her duchess status to develop a business brand would certainly draw attention. He never thought there would be a full-blown parliamentary probe, but he knew the dangers. He understood that his family and the institution that defines them would not just ignore it. He is stuck now. He is stuck between his strong attachment to the woman he loves and his natural grasp of the system he ran away from, but can never totally escape. Staff members create a picture of a guy who is clearly overwhelmed. Meghan is busy with litigation and branding, but Harry is sitting silently browsing through the unending stream of news items. He looks tired, annoyed, and deeply, overwhelmingly unhappy. One assistant from Montecito said, "It was the first time anybody has seen him so utterly engrossed with the issue. Every story, every remark from Parliament, every assault, it is like everything is hitting him all at once. He feels a heavy burden of obligation. This is not only about his wife's company. It is very personal for Harry. He knows that the British media would use this as the best evidence that he and Meghan went too far. He realizes that the palace is probably happy with this change of circumstances. And the worst part is that he understands there is not much he can do to rectify it. He is a man divided between wanting to help his wife fight for her freedom and knowing in a manner she may never comprehend how strong and unbreakable the institution they are fighting against is the legal battlefield. Meghan's crew is getting ready for war, but they are facing a harsh legal reality. The UK Parliament is neither a competitor business nor a nosy tabloid. It is a sovereign legislative body with constitutional jurisdiction over royal titles and how they may be used. Her attorneys are said to be working on a possible lawsuit that says Parliament has no power to meddle with a private citizen's business. However, almost all legal experts agree that she does not have an easy route to win. Former parliamentary assistants, constitutional attorneys, and legal professors in the UK have made it obvious. People do not think that Parliament is going too far. It is only reaffirming standards that have been there for a long time, even if they are not always written down about how royal branding and business should work together. They say that a high-profile case might swiftly turn into a public relations nightmare before it ever gets to court. It would be hard to see an American duchess suing the British Parliament for the right to make money out of a title given to her by the British Crown. The court of public opinion has already met, and the decision is quite split. Social media is like a battlefield. Meghan vs Parliament and the Duchess drama are two hashtags that are popular all around the world. There is a post that defends her as a feminist icon fighting against an unjust system for every post that makes fun of her for being entitled. You cannot sue Parliament for upholding regulations your title already indicated. Good luck with that, Duchess. This message went viral, and the criticism is strong and never-ending. It shows how dangerous Meghan's situation is. Legal experts say that this review might create a precedent that goes beyond the current struggle. If Parliament is able to limit Meghan's economic use of her title, it will set a new severe standard for all contemporary royals for a long time to come. Princesses Beatrice and Eugenie, who have kept their titles while working in private life, may be looked at in the same way. Even the economic transactions of other non-working royals might come under a fresh, harsh focus. It is not only about Meghan Markle anymore. This is about figuring out what it means to be a royal in the 21st century, a legacy that is present in the center. In addition to the concerns around business and branding, there is another much more profound fear that is reportedly keeping Meghan up at night. There is a problem with her children Archie and Lyot. Following their grandfather's ascension to the throne, the two children were bestowed with the titles of prince and princess. Despite the fact that their parents have only seldom utilized these titles, they have established a clear and personal connection between them and their royal heritage. If Parliament is able to restrict the ways in which a duchess may use her title, then what would prevent them from doing the same for a prince and princess? This is the terrifying question that is now hovering over Montecito. Would it be possible that this review is the first step toward a future in which the titles of her children are similarly restricted by corporate regulations? When it comes to the Constitution, there are some experts who believe that this is the ultimate point that is both reasonable and perhaps even intended. In the event that Parliament decided that non-working royals are not permitted to generate money out of their titles, this would establish a precedent that Archie and Lyot could have to deal with for the rest of their lives. Imagine that Prince Archie is 25 years old and has the desire to launch a software firm. When Princess Elizabeth is 30 years old, she is either a writer or an artist. It is possible that they would be breaking the law if they used their own names and titles in the work that they produced. Would it be necessary for them to make a decision between their freedom and their heritage? This is the generational threat that has converted a business tragedy into an existential one for the Sussex family. It is a long-term threat that will affect several generations. Those who are close to the couple have said that they have found this particular phase of the crisis to be quite challenging. In part, they left the United Kingdom in order to provide their children a life that was more liberating, private, and full of alternatives. The most amusing aspect is that it is possible that their children have had fewer chances available to them ever since they departed and chose a profession in business. An anonymous insider said that Meghan is always pondering the question, what sort of precedent are we establishing? What kind of atmosphere are we leaving for our children to grow up in? To put it another way, she is no longer only fighting for her company. The future of Archie and Lily is something that she is fighting for. According to the accounts, this causes Harry to experience a great deal of bad feelings. Because he was the one who had previously worked at the establishment, he was aware of how stringent its standards were. He ought to have been aware that this would take place. On the other hand, even he could not have anticipated that Parliament would intervene and have such significant repercussions for his whole family. The unwritten future of the coronation in the aftermath of the conflict. People will remember this conflict as more than just another chapter in the narrative of Sussex. It is a particularly significant event in the history of the modern-day monarchy of the United Kingdom. It poses a direct challenge to the primary theme, which is the question of what it means to be a king in a society when celebrities, social media, and international commerce are all very popular. You gave up your independence, your right to privacy, and the right to profit from your identity in exchange for a great deal of power, status, and money. This was the implicit agreement that the royal family made for hundreds of years straight. Harry and Meghan made an effort to alter the previous agreement. They want a new model that is a hybrid of the two. One that would allow them to enjoy the grandeur and international renown that comes with their titles while also releasing them from the constraints and duties that come with royal life. In addition to being free, they want to be royalty by means of the powerful voice of Parliament. The British establishment is now providing its definitive response, which is that it is impossible to have both. You cannot just absolve yourself of the obligations of the institution, while also making use of the money that it can only provide. The outcome of this fight will determine the rules that will be followed by the generation that comes after us. The purpose of this decision is to determine whether the royal mark is considered personal property, meaning that the bearer is free to use it in any manner they see fit, or if it is owned by the crown and may only be used for the benefit of the nation. Parliament is still in the process of conducting the review. Montato residents are putting the final touches on legal documents and getting ready for public relations efforts. The whole world is watching as a family drama unfolds on a constitutional stage, and everyone is paying attention. But beneath the political games and strategic calculations, a human tragedy is still happening. A lady striving for her future, a husband split between two worlds and two children whose future is hanging by a thread. The crown has taken some kind of action. Not only will the response from the house in California determine the fate of an empire, but it furthermore has the potential to determine the existence of the monarchy itself. Thank you for watching the video. Please let us know your thoughts and say goodbye for now.